So if you're just starting out in the beginning stages of your filmmaking career and you are also using beginner gear, you've probably already noticed that you've been doing this dance between, is it my gear or is it something I don't know, that's keeping you in this bad video limbo. In this video, I'm actually gonna tell you why I think that if you can afford it and you know that you're gonna stick with this, you should definitely buy better gear. So this is an age-old argument on cinematography and photography channels, as well as forums before that, and I'm sure somewhere else before the internet came to be in existence. And that is, does the quality of your gear actually matter? And these videos typically predictably land on, no, you don't need the best gear, you just need to go out and make stuff, blah, 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 blah. And that's fine and that's true. If your goal is just to make stuff, you can pick up your cell phone, you can pick up any camera and you can go out and start making stuff. And I think you should. But the goal, especially if you're here, it's to make awesome stuff and awesome looking stuff. And there's a reason why these videos always end up with that same answer, because no, gear will never supersede knowledge. So in a few years, when you're an amazing cinematographer and great filmmaker, you will look back and say, yeah, I could have probably made really good stuff with the knowledge that I have now with a Canon T3i from like 2010, for sure. But the fact is, in the beginning, when it comes to gear and knowledge, you typically have neither. Which brings me to the point of this video, which is, in the beginning, you're trying to solve an equation that you don't even know exists. And that equation is knowledge gap plus gear gap equals video quality. So when I first started, I was in a pop punk band. So we were doing this photo shoot. It was really cool. I was super stoked and I was super interested. That's a lot of supers. I was super interested in the photographer's process and just the idea of photography at that point in general. We got the photos, they looked amazing. And of course, the question that I had for the photographer was like, dude, what camera are you using? Which I'm sure he was thrilled about. But he told me all the gear that he was using. I saved all my money and I bought a Canon 5D. That was my very first camera. It was basically kind of the state-of-the-art portrait camera, and it would be the equivalent of like a Canon R5 Mark II right now. Very pricey for me just getting a camera, but I figured if I had the best camera, then I could just take pictures like that. Me and my buddy went out to shoot, I snapped a couple photos, and lo and behold, it looked like a big pile of shit. So right then and there, without even knowing it, I solved half of this equation. I had the gear. I had exactly what that photographer that I had seen with my own eyes was using, and I couldn't produce the same results because I didn't know what I was doing. The benefit of having better gear is that you no longer have to ask yourself, man, do I just need a better lens? Do I need a better camera body? You know for a fact that it's a knowledge problem and it's a knowledge gap that you need to close. So if you save up your money and you buy an FX3 with a G Master lens, and then you go onto YouTube and you find a bunch of videos where they're shooting with an FX3 and a G Master lens in natural light, and you can't get those same results, then you know you have a knowledge problem. In which case you could pick up something like Short Form Filmmaker that's linked in my description. Shameless plug. So if you have the money and maybe you're like me and you get obsessed with stuff and you know you're gonna stick with this, I definitely think that you should buy better gear. I'm a huge advocate of buy once, cry once, meaning rather than spending $1,000 on an entry-level camera and then in 3 months spending another 3 grand, just bite the bullet, buy the good camera, buy a good lens now, and then you know for a fact what your issue is, and it'll save you a ton of headache in the long run. Speaking of gear, real quick, I'll wrap this up with talking about a couple little options that you could get for gear that'll get you high quality results without necessarily having to spend, 7 grand on your first setup. The camera that I'm using right now to shoot this, and the camera that I have transitioned to for all my social media, is a Sony ZV-E1. It literally has the same guts as the FX3. It's just not as robust and sturdy as an FX3. I actually got this camera as a B camera to my Canon R5 here. After using it for a while, I completely transitioned to shooting video exclusively on this camera because I love it. So you can get that camera for half the price of an FX3. I've linked it below. And then for lenses, instead of buying a bunch of prime lenses that are gonna cost you a ton of money because you're trying to hit every focal length, I would definitely just start out with a 24-70. I'm using a G Master 2 from Sony on this camera right now, but you definitely don't need that. Sigma makes a really solid lens, a Sigma Art lens at a 24-70. That would get you going. That's enough of a setup to be able to have the confidence that if you're not getting the results you want, you just need to close that knowledge gap. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. And I'll be posting a lot more videos like this in this kind of cinematography tips, photography tips world. And then also check out my other videos on YouTube, which are more short films and passion projects and cinematic pieces and things like that. I'll see you later. Okay, we're not gonna use the chair because you can't see me because I'm short.